Spotlight, lectures and performances on and around Albany State University.
This symposium and its theme is the past, present, and future, the role of historical Black colleges and universities in higher education. Our keynote speaker is the former leader of one of the nation's most storied institutions of higher education, Tuskegee University. Dr. Benjamin F. Payton served as the 5th president of Tuskegee University, holding that position for nearly 29 years, starting in 1981. Dr. Payton, known for his inspiring speeches, his capacity to motivate all, is a powerful lecturer, is a powerful demonstrator of what it means to be a human being, and a courageous fighter for not only HBCUs, but higher education throughout the United States, and has been a transformational leader at Tuskegee University. Under his leadership, Tuskegee Institute became Tuskegee University in 1985 and established or enhanced many programs as part of its mission to provide teaching, research, and service to the community and to the world. Dr. Payton guided the university as it has added 2 doctoral programs in material science and engineering and integrative biosciences. During his tenure, more than $300 million was invested in student scholarships and campus infrastructure. The university's endowment grew from $15 million to more than $150 million under Dr. Payton's stewardship. In addition, General David Chappie James Center for Aerospace Engineering and Health Education, the National Center for Bioethics in Research and Healthcare, and the Kellogg Hotel and Conference Center were constructed. And also under Dr. Payton's leadership, the Tuskegee University School of Veterinary Sciences became the nation's #2 producer of African-American veterinarians and still maintains that rank today. I ask you to join and rise with me in welcoming our keynote speaker today, Dr. Benjamin Franklin Payton. Dr. Payton.
Thank you very much, Dr. Freeman. To President Everett Freeman, members of the Georgia Board of Regents, members of the Presidential Symposium Committee, members of the Albany State University faculty, staff, administration, student body, alumni, community leaders, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. You have honored me in your kind invitation to share with you in these most extraordinary recognitions and celebrations that, as I understand it, you are kicking off in a special way this week, but which will continue for some time and culminate in one of the most remarkable acts of reconciliation that I have seen a college or university undertake with respect to its students. I am delighted to be here, and I want to begin by first commending those who have worked with President Freeman in laying out the insightful concepts which underlie these programs and which promise to give them such rich meaning and purpose during these events. You have managed to focus already from the outset on that which is of central importance, and that is, in my judgment, the business of educating students. That is the thing that we are about here. Whether we are discussing teaching in classrooms and laboratories, whether the attention turns to experiments in communities, or whether we are looking at how our institutions can be of even greater value than they are to this powerful nation called the United States of America, but one which is in many ways under considerable siege these days. That's fairly strong language, siege, but so are the challenges we face. And I suppose one of our first challenges is developing the capacity to see them and to talk about them and to find language that's appropriate to render clear the phenomena about which we speak. Black colleges I have heard described in many ways in my career, and I have quite honestly taken the position that I'm not going to engage in any more vituperative discussions about who is or is not relevant, or who is or is not intelligent, or who is not able to educate our young people. It has become increasingly clear to me that over the years, much of this discussion has been driven by a set of considerations that are, quite frankly, not about education at all. They are about politics, they're about social arrangements, and especially about social hierarchy, its sustenance, and its perpetuation. So I decided that I want to talk about Albany State University tonight. Now I'm going to do it in a manner that will bring into the picture some important aspects of what should be the discussion regarding historically black colleges and universities. You have, I said, already focused in the right way on the right category of issues, students. And they are here for the purpose of being taught and in order to learn. They come in order that they can find through the ministrations of our articulations of purpose and mission the things that drive them to greater heights of fulfillment as persons, as individuals, in whatever area of endeavor they choose to work. There are, however, two, in my judgment, dynamics at work that we must look at again and again. These I refer to as the dynamics of quality, excellence, and the dynamics of justice, fairness. Our institutions that are called historically black colleges and universities capture the attention of some in almost pathological ways because of the demonstrated capacity of these institutions to take young men and women from a variety of backgrounds in life and to pull, push, steer, encourage, do almost anything legitimate to awaken their spirits, to have them know deeply that they are people of power and of purpose. That wasn't expected of Albany State University. It was not expected of South Carolina State University. It wasn't really expected of Tuskegee. We have been, in so many ways, over such a large period of time, been toyed with. I shall never forget the experience I had when I was a college student. I was something of a campus politician. I was also, I thought, a scholar. My teachers happened to agree, I think. But I admired my college president. I admired him for a number of reasons, but I think primarily I admired him because of his demonstrated ability to take an organization like South Carolina State College, with its range of talent and ability in faculty and staff and students, and lead the organizational and personal dynamics of that campus in such a way that it became a place of lively quality, focused upon rigor in the educational and intellectual development of his students. I admired Dr. Benner C. Turner for a number of reasons. I wanted to go to Harvard because he went to Harvard. I wanted to engage in the leadership of higher education because he was so engaged. I wanted to be able to speak well about what I was trying to say because men and women like him, like Mary McLeod Bethune, like Benjamin E. Mays, and so many others were able to do so. I went into this section, though, because of an experience I had when my president asked to see me in the office. In those days, when you were asked to go to the president's office, you responded with some degree of concern. I hadn't done anything that I could remember recently. Anyway, it was a most fascinating conversation. He wanted to do two things. One, he wanted me to meet someone personally that he knew I admired, Benjamin E. Mays. You see, my father was a minister, and all of my parents' 9 children we were required to master the art first of getting into one T-model Ford and getting to wherever we needed to go, be there on time, and with no disheveledness in our appearances. Benjamin Mays would come and speak and give the Easter Sunday sunrise sermon annually. And the whole of Orangeburg, South Carolina would fill that auditorium to overflowing. And the Peyton family was down front, where under some duress initially we had to be. But after you've heard Benjamin A. Mays once, then the duress is removed. I was so deeply honored to have been brought by my president, who thought it well enough of me to meet someone that he knew I admired, like Mays. We talked for a bit, and then we got down to the matter of what I was going to be doing at the end of my senior year. He knew that I wanted to go to Harvard. And in the course of our conversation, we talked about the challenges facing schools like South Carolina State, like Morehouse College, like Albany State University. The one that sticks out most clearly is a comment that my president made in my presence and Dr. Mays's. It was a question. How, he said, Mr. Peyton, as he called all students Mr. and Miss, how do you suppose the legislature really intends for me to lead in the development of a program of strength and quality at South Carolina State when the legislature refuses to articulate or to have us articulate a mission and purpose for the school? How are we to be anything if we do not have the freedom in which to define the parameters of the being we seek to become? A lot of toying around, is what the point I'll make, has taken place in our institutions, and our leaders have had to somehow win their way through it all. And also, in the course of doing that, help students and faculty and staff, people in the community, come to the understanding that although there are others who may be playing games, our task is deadly serious. And I have never yet ceased to be amazed at how some men and women who have been beacon lights of scholarship and educational leadership have managed to do so against such odds. You have begun here this week with a focus on students, and I read that throughout the papers that you have sent me. I read in them a concern for the creation on this campus and the perpetuation of an environment of true, solid scholarship, where academic rigor has a liveliness of character, where young men and women are encouraged, sometimes maybe it seems to some even threatened, that awful things might happen to you if you do not get with the program. There may be those who have been toying with us about our capacity to have a program or to define one and to make anything of it, but thank God for the men and women such as are represented here and who've been represented at so many schools across this country in those institutions called historically black colleges and universities. Thank God that they took us with deadly seriousness. Academic excellence, a lively kind of rigorous academic excellence, must be the hallmark of our endeavor. It's got to be lively. There must continue at places like Albany State University a concern for inquiry and discovery that turns young people on, that makes them understand that the excitement about learning is not just about reading and hearing what other folks say, but also it's about learning enough about the constructs that bear the weight of learning such that you yourselves can become the authors of new knowledge and discovery. And that I have seen time and again in the eyes and faces of our students. A thing that really opens them up with excitement. Much of the disquiet regarding historically black colleges that presumes to be serious may be rooted in a concern as to whether or not there can be or is any real seriousness of purpose about what we do academically. I think if you think as you do, and the meaning of some of the data that have been reviewed here already, what it has taken to take the odds we have been faced with, turn them on their heads, and turn out of places like Albany State University young men and women who are eager to learn. Not just eager to go to class, I didn't say that, but to learn, and also at the right moment to learn the relationship between going to class, going to the library, reading great books, doing intricate problems of science and math and engineering, etc. Doing that and learning that relationship between all that and learning. One of our tasks is to convey successfully that there does in fact occur here serious, lively learning. But I tell you quickly, one of the reasons for the disquiet about us is also rooted in the sense that we do in fact create that kind of energy from those who may not wish us to do so. There is a connection between learning and justice that our schools have had to focus on and maintain in ways that others may not have had to or may not have thought that they did. But it is there. There is the absolute requirement that if America, a land of great diversity, a land of great promise, is to come close to meeting its promise and to really making full use of its resources, then it must find its way to connecting tightly the issues of rigorous academic learning and lively senses of justice, fairness, clothing people with a sense of respect for themselves and encouraging that from others. This defines, in my judgment, another aspect of what is so unique about our institutions. We cannot be simply quiet valleys where little happens except that which is academically routine. We, at the historically black colleges and universities, and indeed at any college or university worth its salt, must probe the inner depths of the issues that make and keep us human and that make and keep our communities whole. These are structured, reared upon concerns for justice as fairness. We are looked to by our students and we look to by people in our community to provide leadership here. I have seen in so many communities where we have institutions like ASU and historic communities such as Albany, I've seen the coming together of community and of scholars in ways that have revitalized both. Indeed, I would argue that historically black colleges and universities have created new pathways to revitalizing the tension that must be there between activism and the search for a quest for fairness on the one hand, and rigorous scholarship and the search for knowledge and discovery on the other. We need the kinds of institutions that create teachers who are able to instill in students the structures and capacities for critical thinking that enable us to see things straight and to see them clearly, and to get underneath the clouds that people spread. The communities in which colleges which colleges like Albany State and South Carolina State, for example, exist, are communities that so desperately need this quality of yield. There must be growing elements of tightness, a yoking, if you please, between the trained mind and the capacity of institutions and communities to find fairness and justice. I see in your decision to honor the students who were, many of them jailed, many injured, I see in this, as I said earlier, a remarkable act of revisiting history and applying to it the concepts and values that really make human life human and communities whole. Now, I don't know what the conversation has been like on campus. I hope it's been a lively one. that honorary degrees will be awarded to those who were expelled back in 1961. That is an act of courage on the part of this institution, because, as you know, we don't, as presidents, just give degrees away. We are authorized to award degrees by the educational authorities of the state. And so somebody has done their homework in terms of working with those who are the leaders of this state in order to ensure that this act can, and as I understand, will be done. It is, at this point, frankly, not about the students so much as it is about this state and this South and this country. It is a statement that says we will no longer tolerate that kind of behavior in our midst. And so I want to congratulate you, President Freeman, and all those who work with you in making certain that this kind of activity does in fact take place. What I'm saying is that there is a connection between social justice movements on the one hand and the requirements of academic excellence on the other, which, when properly wedded, create communities of vitality and power going forward. We're in a life and death struggle in our country. We need young men and women who are graduates of institutions who are deeply learned, but we also need them who, in ways that show the degree to which their hearts have been enriched and their minds made more still. The kind of competition in which we engage is one that requires of us the capacity to meet with those who are some of the strongest and the brightest in the world, but to do it with the view that we can, if we would, be the best that there is. I was struck by the report that came out recently, which you've seen, sponsored by the National Science Foundation, which shows that among institutions of higher education in this country, the ones which educate African American students at the undergraduate level, the ones which do that most successfully in the most difficult fields, at least so the STEM people say, science, technology, engineering, math fields, that the largest proportion of African Americans who graduate and go on to earn doctorates in these fields are graduates of historically black colleges. There is a top list of 20, and I'm so pleased that, of course, the Tuskegee is on the list, but Albany is on the list. I listened to some of the questions that were posed rhetorically earlier today, and never ceases to almost blow my mind that there are people who can, with such equanimity, it seems, of purpose, manage to get out the view that somehow there is a hierarchy in this country. It is there by the laws of nature and nature's God, and that there are some people who, by those laws, are at the top, and no matter what you do, they are going to be there, and that there are others who are at the bottom, and they're going to be there. And the ones that are at the bottom are, guess who? And the ones who are at the top, guess who? But then occasionally something like this National Science Foundation project comes along and blows the lid off. It shows what could happen if in Albany State University, or if at Jackson State University, or if a Tuskegee could have access to the level and quality of human and material resources that are required. Think what might be done if these schools can graduate from our undergraduate programs, young men and women in the most difficult fields, and send them on to do doctorates in those fields at the finest institutions in the country. If we can do that in greater proportion than those that are so wealthy and strong, my God. What a day it would be if we could manage to help hasten the arrival of the joining of excellence and justice. Those days, I think, will come. They have come in bits, in fits and starts, and they will come, I think, increasingly, rapidly, in the days ahead. We, however, have got to do what we've got to do. There is a verse that I want to leave with you. It comes from a book called the Bible, which some of you may have heard of. This is what it says. Let us lay aside every weight, every burden that doth beset us. Lay it aside. Let us hold to the truths that we have already attained, and let us run with perseverance the race that is set before us. Running with perseverance, laying aside the burdens of procrastination, laying aside the burdens of make-believe study, laying aside the weight of forging scholarship instead of making it real, laying aside acting as if you've got it together when you've got to do a little more to get it together. Laying aside the capacity to just get so angry when somebody attacks you, and especially in these areas, when somebody has the gall to, in 2011, say, black folk are intellectually inferior, laying aside that anger, putting it down. We don't have time for it. Laying aside the frustration and focusing with clarity on the job that must be done. Being the best that we can be. And my friends, if we do that, we can move mountains. We can turn worlds upside down. We can make of this place a new day and a new earth. We can. Because God has given us that ability. And because to do so would be not to ask whether God is on our side, but whether we are on God's side, and to join the forces to make it real and to make it happen. Go with strength in these celebrations. Let the civil rights organizations continue to do or do more of what was done in '61. Let you and them join the forces of justice with the forces of rigorous learning. Let there go forth from this place a new sense of hope. Because, my friends, we are on the right side of history. And we are on and with history's God. May He go with you.